Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Sarah Chu and this is What's Up with Chu. Except the Chu that we're talking about in this video is not me, but rather the guy over there. So if you are looking at the title of this video, my dad indeed did have a big heart attack, and I'm making this video to just let our family and friends know who are worried about him what exactly happened, and what we're going to do now, because we are in a foreign country and it was a scary situation. And yeah, just maybe this can help you if you've had family members go through things like this before, or if you're ever in such a terrible situation, what you can do about it. But yeah, here we go. I'm gonna bring you to my dad now to explain what exactly happened and how he realized he was having a heart attack. And he was also, for the record, the doctor said verbatim that he had a big heart attack where the main front artery of his heart was entirely blocked. So I'm just going to make that clear because he likes to fight me on this, but he had a big heart attack. Okay. So Daddy, do you mind explaining how exactly you realized that something was wrong? Okay, take us back to where you were yesterday. What happened yesterday?
Well, we were at the golf course, the finishing of our 13th hole, I think. Then suddenly a gust of wind came by, and it was so cold that my elder daughter, Rebecca, suddenly decided that we should stop. Yeah, then I suddenly also felt pain at my two rib cage area, and I felt so uncomfortable. It was not the pain that was uncomfortable; it's that the funny feeling as though it's like someone who suffocated. You see, there was no chest pain, but the pain was around the rib area. That's all. Anyway, so I thought that it was because it was due to the cold. So we went back to our resort, and I took a hot bath, hoping that the hot bath will ease everything off. But that didn't settle anything. I still felt uncomfortable. So it was up to me, you see, because my two girls won't know the extent of my agony, that whether I should go to the hospital. But after contemplating for a while, I was thinking, why not? Because the hospital is just next to the resort. It's a stone throw from there. So the two girls obligingly took me to the hospital, and there we were.
Wait, I gotta interject. So as he was feeling all these things, it was easy for us to also be like, okay, maybe it's just like a muscle sprain or something. Like, we did go golfing, so him having pain in those regions was kind of normal, like almost expected. But the fact that Dad, you said like, oh, I feel so uncomfortable, like this chest region, I've never felt this before, this kind of weird pain, it was like scary, and it was like surprising, because like if you've never felt the pain before, we were like, okay, so then what can it be? Because you've obviously felt muscle sprains in your life for 70 plus years. So that was the scary part. So we get to the hospital, and then
So we were at the emergency, and that I must say, I must give credit to the hospital staff. They were so obliging, and the service is so good that it was almost instantaneous, that they started to take us to a certain room to have my chest checked, and to have a cardio. What do you call cardio?
Okay, so I'm gonna take them back. So basically, Daddy got an EKG done, which is like checking, I guess, your heart. I guess, like, I don't know what it's checking, but it checks your heart and stuff like that. And so the first time they got it, the doctor said they saw something like a red flag.
No, the first time they say it was.
No, so the doctor said that they saw a red flag in the first EKG. And so they ordered another EKG to be done after getting chest x-rays done. And those results came back, and they were like, no, your dad had a heart attack. Like, from the second EKG, they already saw that there was like a blood clot, like there was like a stoppage in your heart. And then there was like a big reaction they saw, like a big spike of something. or I don't know if they checked the oxygen. Something was happening. Anyway, so they were immediately alarmed. And so basically from my point of view was we saw our dad being taken away for x-rays, brought back. They said, we're going to just change him. You guys can just leave the room and go into another one and wait while he gets something done. And we're like, oh, okay. So we're just like, okay, maybe it's just something small. So we go into another room. And as we walk into that room, and my sister and I are both still shocked because they confirmed that he had a heart attack. That's what the doctor said. And we were like, oh my gosh, you had a heart attack, Daddy. So while we're being separated from him, a doctor doesn't come in. A chaplain comes in. A chaplain, however you say this freaking word. A chaplain. So a chaplain walks in. You guys know what a chaplain does? Like, a chaplain is the person who prays and does like the last rites and like he's like a priest. He prays over dead bodies or like before the person passes away. And so when I saw the chaplain, I was like, oh my gosh, is my dad gonna die? Like, why is he here? And he was like, hi, I'm the spiritual like advisor or something like that, and I'm here to be like a conduit between the doctors and the patient. I'm like, okay, but why do we need you? Like, I was just like, my dad's gonna be fine, right? So we were freaking out. I was crying. I was like, what's going on? And then they told us that our dad was gonna get a can you say this word? Cardio-arthritic? What? You got a cardio-arthritis something? They told us that my dad would have this cardio procedure, and in this procedure they said that they would basically investigate what was blocking his heart, because the oxygen wasn't running through, the blood wasn't running through. And so what did they do in this operation, Daddy? Do you remember? Well, obviously you weren't alive, but they told you what happened, right? So what was your experience as they wheeled you away?
Well, actually I didn't feel anything.
So they wheeled you into a room, and
they wheeled me to I don't know what kind of room they call it. It's like a operation room where they started to put all sorts of patches on my body, putting patches all over the place. And then I never did I realize it took such a short while, and then everything was done, and they already put a stent in. My goodness.
So the operation didn't take any more than 30 minutes, I'd say. And so basically what they did with my dad was they did a radial, I believe, whatever this surgery is called. And so they went through his arm, and they actually put a tube in, and that tube went into his heart, and it found the artery that was blocked, and they were able to, with that tube, put a stent in. And the stent, they said, is like a mesh. It's like a mesh tube that opens up and is able to open up that artery and let blood pass through because it was formerly clogged. And apparently the mesh is like, the stent is like the size smaller than a pen spring. And so they put that inside Daddy's heart so that it doesn't clog. And they've also given him blood thinners, which he's going to have to be on for the rest of his life so that the blood won't get clogged in his heart again. We are in a bed in a very nice hospital in a private room where we've had the best doctors and we've had the best nurses, and they've been really attentive and really caring. And Daddy's gotten you got attention really fast, right? They immediately served him, and we didn't have to wait that long. They informed us about things that were going on. Judge and I freaked out. We had a mini breakdown. So the chaplain was still with us, and then we were waiting outside of Daddy's hospital room, and the chaplain kind of scared us, to be honest, because he was like, there's been many times I've sat here with families, and the doctor came back with word that their family member was dead, and I've had to sit through them and talk to them about what happens, and just be there for them. And I was like, why are you telling us this? Do you want us to think the worst? It was so scary. And then once he got a nurse to come out and it kind of explained more so what was happening, and the nurse calmed us down, because the nurse was like, this happens all the time, they've done at least 5 or 6 of these this week. This doctor is the best doctor, he said, and it's a very routine thing. It's he said it's similar to going to the dentist and getting a root canal. That's how easy and efficient this is. So a lot of people live with stents in. A lot of people have heart attacks and live long, healthy lives as long as they make some life changes. So let's talk about the life changes that Daddy's now going to have to make. So what life changes do you think you're going to have to make now that you've had a big heart attack?
To me, actually, nothing will change. It's the same kind of routine will be. I will go through the same routine, going to my club and play as though I never had a heart attack. I don't know, because I feel good, actually.
So how do you feel post-op?
I feel good. I feel as though I was the same person before and after.
But remember, you still have the pain?
No, I used to have this kind of pain on the side, my rib area. This has always been there for a long time already.
Which makes me think that maybe he's had like angina or like chest pains, which are indicators of heart stress. So the doctor said he's going to have to make some life changes, like he cannot have fatty foods on a regular basis. So one of my dad's favorite things to do is to go to either a Popeyes or a KFC 1 day per week, because they have special deals, especially on Tuesdays, right? And he likes to get their fried chicken and their fries and like enjoy that once per week. But that's going to change because that's too much fat going into your system. So that's going to have to be a major change. He's going to have to eat more protein, more vegetables, less carbs, because carbs turn into sugar, which turn into fat. So less carbs. He's going to have to be active. So yes, he walks at the club, but maybe you want to try considering walking, like in general, maybe taking a 20-minute walk every day kind of thing, but not too strenuous. You don't want to stress out your heart so fast. You're going to have to like rest. Make sure you're resting. He can't be too stressed. That's another thing. You can't be too stressed. You can't let your emotions and your anger or your worry or whatever get a hold of you anymore. Remember, you can't go into rages. You can't like freak out, because that's bad for your heart. And the thing that you want to try to avoid is to not have another heart attack, right? So that's why we're doing all these things, because if you have another heart attack, you're going to get more heart damage. You're going to stress your heart out further. It gets weaker. And then what are we supposed to do?
Actually, I come from a family of heart attacks. But my mother was tough. My mother had, in her lifetime, maybe, I don't know, she had years and years of heart attack.
Oh my God.
Ever since she was 50 odd, she had till she was about the late 70s.
What?
Yeah, she has this intermittently. She had heart attack, and she survived. She was very tough.
Okay, but the point is not to have as many heart attacks as you could possibly have in your life. The point is to not have
I think
another.
one heart attack toughens the heart, so.
No, it weakens the heart. Okay, that's not correct.
No.
This is fake science.
To me, one heart attack toughens the heart.
Anyway, and then who else in your family has had heart conditions?
My brother. My younger brother, who's 12 years younger than me, had a heart attack. I think more than 10 years ago.
Okay. Who else?
Oh, my elder sister died of heart attack actually. Her name is Nora. Her heart attack came very late in life. So by the time it was discovered, her heart was only working on 25%, I think. But that's it.
So clearly genetic factors play a big role. So obviously eating right, having a healthy lifestyle obviously helps. But the fact that Daddy has like genetic things working against him was the huge thing.
Nothing to worry. I'm still as strong as a cow, as a bull. So cheer up. To me, I feel as though nothing has happened except for the aches at my rib area. That's all. Anyway.
And also say Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Ciao.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the ways that God's been just really good and has just been really faithful and blessed us in this situation.
So traveling into, at first we were wondering, why did we come to Orlando? Like, what's so interesting about Orlando? But it just so happens that...
Sorry, let's reiterate. We did not want to come to Orlando. We were like, ugh, Florida, what is there to do here? Why are we coming? And then we were kind of forced to because we have a timeshare. So we're like, fine, let's go.
So when we came to Florida, we, before coming in, we actually started feeling more relaxed, and we started planning our day to Florida, and we started looking forward to it, because we're going to come anyways. And then while this happened, it just dawned on us that, maybe there was a reason why my dad was actually here in Florida, is because that maybe God knew that this day was going to happen, that he's going to have a heart attack, because we believe that God knew everything from before it happened anyway. And the resort that we stayed in just so happens to have a really good hospital right beside our resort.
Literally right beside.
Yeah. And it's really cool that it's right beside. It's so convenient. So as we got into the hospital, getting my dad admitted to the hospital, they were so friendly and so nice. And then we met this chaplain. I think my sister was talking about a chaplain before, and he goes by the name of Samuel. And
Biblical name.
yeah, biblical name. And also because one of my best friends' name is called Samuel, and felt so comforted because the name is so resounding to someone that's really comforting to me. And
then the fact that like he was Christian,
Yeah.
and not another religion or denomination, that we could have that bond of being able to talk about, like he said, what we focus on in this situation is not the why of why is this happening, but rather for what purpose is God going to use this? Like, how is God going to shed light and bring himself glory through this situation, which is a great hope and something that we found a lot of peace in. And he was always able to pray with us, which was really comforting, I think, and was able to speak life to us when there was so much darkness in the situation. Go on.
And then after that, like after the surgery, my dad was wheeled into this ICU place. And then while he was wheeled in here, the nurse that was helping us out, her name was Amy, and that's our mom's name. So it's just so interesting, like, you know, we should see little things that we notice, like God's hand is in everything that he does here. One of the actually cool part that I found really cool was starting in the beginning of our trip, we started doing this journal. That's her.
I showed in the vlog before this.
Yeah, but the journal, and one of them is Ezekiel 36:26, and it says, like, you know, praying for the heart of stone to turn into heart of flesh. And it's so interesting that we started talking about it and praying for it. And obviously we pray for our dad about it, because, you know, we want our dad to spiritually grow more, or just know that there's a God who loves him a lot. So we start praying about that, about our dad. But who knew that it actually went to like a physical changing a heart of stone or a heart of clogging into a heart of flesh, which is like, you know, putting the stent in and giving my dad like actually oxygen and pumping blood back into his heart to revive and restore. So I'm like, how interesting God is using something that could have went bad into something that was good. We were talking to another nurse before, and we were asking, you know, what are the possibilities if we didn't admit my dad into the hospital yesterday? What would have happened? What if he had come to, like, you know, would he be alive the next day? And she said that the most likely of it happening was, yeah, I think my dad would have passed away.
So that really comes into contact with what we did a devo about, which is in the story, God revived and God did a resurrection of something that the human thought was gone, thought he had lost. And so at the same time, like, basically my dad has a second chance at life. God really saved him and he really came through. And we don't know, obviously we don't know if this was God's plan from the beginning. We don't know if prayer helped, right? We don't know what changed the circumstances, but we do know that God has been there for us throughout this whole experience, and that he is truly good. No matter the circumstances that happen in life, God is still good. And to also remember, like, we are not fighting against God. God is not the enemy here. We know our enemy, and our enemy is Satan, and Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And yet he did not steal nor kill nor destroy my dad's life, because God wins at the end of the day every single time. So I think that's really cool. And then I was also like, I think through this, like, it's really shown us, I guess, who do you run to in times of struggle, right? Because at the end of the day, Jesus is our best friend. Jesus is our confidant. And it was really cool, I guess, for us to be able to pray together through such a difficult time when others might be, it was easy to be like, oh my gosh, we could be really scared right now, start screaming, crying, being like, why, God? Or like, what's going to happen to my dad? Or I don't want to lose my dad, God. And it's so easy to operate out of fear in those kinds of times. But it takes Jesus, it takes the Spirit of God, our Holy Spirit, with that boldness, that courage, that strength to know that no matter what happens, that God is still faithful, and that we were able to pray and praise and worship him in a time where we could have done the opposite. But we were saying, no, Jesus, you are Lord of Lords. And we were praying, we were playing the song Raise a Hallelujah by Bethel, I believe. And that was really powerful in that moment, to just praise God even when what you don't want is happening. Praise him anyway and see what comes of that, see how he changes you. How do you think that this has changed us? Like, obviously our dad is healthy and alive, and this is not about us, but at the same time it is, because it's our family. So how do you think this experience has changed you and your faith?
If anything, it just increased my faith even more, so to know that, you know, God is working. And I just, again, I'm still not over the fact that, like, you know, I'm so in awe that Like, we were literally praying for Ezekiel 36:26 for God to change my dad from heart of stone. Who knew, like, literally change physically the heart of the artery of stone into like a flesh? I'm still, like, I'm not over it. I'm still processing it. I think God works in many miracle and wondrous ways, and it's just, and like, even for this timeshare, we wanted to include so many people to come, and at the end it just didn't work out at all. It just so happens to be just the 4 of us coming to our the resort. It's just like me, my sister, and my mom and my dad. It just happens that 4 of us come. So maybe, like, God knew from before that this has to happen because dad needed this time, right? So I don't know. I think it's if anything, just encourages more of, God's still here with us right now and today. He's not, like, he never will forsake us. Who he is in the Bible is still relevant to who he is now to us.
And I think for me, it's just, so I've been in a situation very recently where a close friend of mine had a heart condition and passed away because of it. And I remember, like, on my knees praying while my dad was in the procedure, and I remember thinking, like, God, you brought me through that, and that was the worst time of my life. And if you could bring me through that, the death of someone, like a best friend so close to me, then you can bring me through this. Like, no matter what happens, Jesus, I know you're real, and I know you're going to bring me through this. So I thank God that we still have a father at the end of the day. Like, this could have been a different vlog. This could have been me saying, my dad complained of heart pains and we ignored him, and we didn't bring him to the hospital and he died. But instead it's, no, God did a good thing. God brought it to our attention. God gave my dad wisdom and discernment to know that something was wrong. God gave us the means to a transportation to get to the hospital that was right beside our hotel, to get to doctors who know what they're doing, who've done this many times, to get my dad the treatment he needs. And we're right where we need to be. Like, throughout all this, we're right where we need to be. God has never left us, and God has a plan throughout all this. It's really true that God does work all things for the good of those who love him, and we've seen that be true today and yesterday and the rest of our lives. So I also want to wrap this up with just saying a huge thank you to, it does that a lot. I just want to wrap this video up by saying a huge thank you to our family for being with us, our friends for praying. Just, there have been so many different people, like at more than 50 people who have just messaged and prayed over this. And we've just really seen God move through you guys just being there for us, and just outstretching your hand. People giving monetary support, which is beyond anything we ever imagined. Thank you so much for your heart. We are so appreciative of that, especially since we have to stay here longer. We don't know how this is going to work out, but we know God's got us, that if this is what he has planned, that he will provide a place for us to stay. And we're so thankful for obviously this place and the people who've worked with us. But yeah, thank you so much for being concerned, and for your prayers, and for your love and your support, and all the people who have messaged me with similar experiences. I'm so sorry. We do not fight against flesh and blood, but we're fighting against the devil, and he uses crazy tactics to try to get us. So please don't lose hope, don't lose strength. Jesus is coming. We've got this, and I pray that we all stay strong and healthy, and heart attacks will not be the end of us. Okay, that's so little. Okay, Jesus conquered death. We got this. Anything you want to say?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you feel uplifted. Know that you are not alone in whatever struggle you're going through. Jesus is with you, and he will get you through everything. We love you. Love God. Love yourself. And love others. Bye.